Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome to the ASR 130 series, first round of this new Australian Sports Car Championship on iRacing, and we are bringing you live coverage here on SimSpeed TV, which is our pleasure. And to kick it all off, we're at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps on the endurance layout with the endurance pits. This is an endurance championship. I think of it not dissimilar to a little bit of IMSA vibes, with a 2-hour 10-minute race ahead of us, as will be the case for all of the 3 rounds coming up. David Haynes joined by Jay Kennedy, who's also behind the cameras. Jay, a lot of hype in the world of sports car racing globally with these new hypercar inverted commas rules, the new LMDHs. We've got 2 of them on iRacing. Are massively popular here, and they're joined alongside a couple of GT3 cars for this endurance championship.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting to see how they go and how a little bit of multi-class action go with our regular runners that we see throughout AUSPASS on a Wednesday night. It's going to be a very entertaining series, and as you said, this track running the endurance layout, which means because it is an endurance race, its strategy is going to be really cool and really important when we get into that later on in the night. But this is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Doesn't need too much of an introduction, but what it does need is a very good look at, because it is a fantastic circuit and one that is one of the best in the world by far.
Absolutely, there can be no doubt. Great in all sorts of racing. Key overtaking opportunities, I'd say just about everywhere. But I'm looking at La Source, Lacombe at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Of course, Eau Rouge Radion. Incredibly famous sequence of corners there. And Blanchimont 2 into the bus stop chicane. And it is almost a smack bang round number, 7 kilometers around here. As far as permanent racing circuits go, it does have 800 meters on Bathurst. It's only bested by maybe the endurance layout of the Bend and a few others. It is a monster of a lap, very well suited to this style of racing coming up.
Very cool track, isn't it? It's such an iconic piece of road. Of course, started as a temporary circuit, a street circuit that went off straight ahead at Lacombe at turn 5 and then rejoined down near Circuit Paul Frere, Stavelot down at turn 15. The bus stop chicane was completely different because it's actually located where a bus stop used to be. It's such an iconic place, and we've said it many times before that racetracks sort of become iconic when every corner has a name, and some corners have multiple, including that one you can see in the background there. It's got 4 or 5 different names, and one of them used to be No Name.
The sweet irony of No Name now being the corner with the most names. X corner, Jackie X. Honour of having a couple corners in Belgium named after him. You and I have discussed that before. He's also got one for himself at oh my goodness, Zolder, correct. Yeah, the old Jackie X Bocht, Harshbelt Bocht, Canal Bocht, all of the Bochts there at Zolder, but here at Spa. What we're looking forward to is qualifying to wrap up shortly and get into a 130-minute race. There are some 2-driver combinations. There are some 1-driver combinations, but all of the strategy shouldn't disadvantage the 2-driver teams. and those fuel limits is going to see us make a couple more pit stops through this race, which will be something to keep an eye on given the mammoth nature of the pit lane here. It is over a kilometer of pit lane. It is a 60km/h pit lane speed limit. Even without pit service, without fueling, without tires, without driver swaps, it's more than a minute just to drive through the lane here.
Yeah, it's a long stop, well, a long lane, as you say, and then it's a fairly decent stop to go on with it too. So we're going to see a lot of action in the pit lane, and drivers are going to try and get into the pit lane as little as possible. So fuel saving might be key early on in the race when you're getting out there and getting yourself into a bit of fresh air. You can get yourself out there with a little bit of fuel saving. You might find yourself in a very, very good spot come the end of this race. I'm sure some drivers have done a lot of strategy and discussions around what they can and can't do, potentially strategy-wise as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it goes.
The two prototypes, of course, in the LMDH class, Cadillac and the BMW. I've seen a little bit of the BMW, but the Cadillac's a little bit newer, for sure. It's a little bit grayer. That's very gun shit grey.
You did say ship.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I did. CK Motorsport, the pole position at the moment. Now, with that lap from Colby Cowan just eclipsing Harry Lawrence from Delta Sport. So I think there was a lot of traffic early in this session. We've got the checkered flag waving now, which is just clearing things up a little bit. But for Pursuit Sim Racing, Sebastian Vandel, he's done. And we're tracking, is there anyone in any of these GT3s that could get around him? There's a couple more models of GT3 on show as well. That's between the Ferrari, Mercedes, and...
I have seen a Porsche out on track. Well,
we got BMWs?
Good question. I've got the list here. I should look at it. We do have a BMW. We've got Mach 1 Esports. We're currently second in the GT3 class in a BMW. We've got Ferrari, Mercedes, Porsche, and almost all Cadillacs and two BMWs in the in the LMDH class or the GTP class, depending on what side of the world, John. I think is what you call those classes, a bit different. But qualifying is done.
Yeah, it sure is, and it's a monster of a grid to get through as well, with 38 cars, as many as, I think, over 50 drivers for this first of 3 rounds of the ASR 130 series. Colby Cowan, CK Motorsport are on the pole position in the number 25, and Harry Lawrence from Delta Sport second. They are starting on the front row. 2 drivers for CK Motorsport, and just Harry Lawrence for Delta Sport. That's something to keep an eye on. Adam Funslow, I Like Motorsport, and Hamish Cleland, Frogleap Juiced Racing are row number 2 as we work our way through the prototypes. Then it's Frogleap Juiced Racing Blue, the number 97, and Pulse Echuca Toyota, the number 36, John Merritt, and 95 SimSport, and Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports. W alongside a Cadillac there. 2 Cadillacs alongside here with Team Tim Harris. Actually, that's Team Timothy Harris II, and Dummy Racing in 9th and 10th in that class. 15 total GTPs. My timing screen says GTP, so I'm going to say that from here on out, I reckon. OK Racing and Bandit Racing. They're in 11th and 12th. And the remaining cars in that class are Velocity Racing Team 21, Teal Blue Racing, and Team Luke Turner, the 15 GTPs. 23 GT3s. I've got to really enunciate though for those two to sound different. Pursuit Sim Racing and Mach 1 Esports on the pole at the moment. Mercedes and BMW. Mercedes and a Porsche on the second row there with Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports number 11 and Twitchy Foot Racing number 26. Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports 921. And Team Luke Trahir, 5th and 6th. Yeah, more Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esportsing with 7th, and Sean Lacey Team Racy in 8th. Twitchyfoot Racing 76 and 981 Motorsport 9th and 10th. Tab Motorsports and Jarai Racing. Team Paul Longworth and Team Jamie Blackman. Ferraris alongside there. Another Twitchyfoot Racing car and Red Bull Ship in 16th.
We're going to slip over that one tonight, aren't we?
I reckon. I'll be careful. We can be careful. We'll be fine. Team Reese Ashmore and Put It in H. 17th and 18th. A couple more cars in class as they're rolling, ready to get going. It's Downshift Black Dog. Team Kraken. Fiercely Forward, 38. Fiercely 117. And Velocity Racing Team 696. Short formation lap here at Spa.
Is the start line at this corner, or is the start line around the next corner?
Endurance, I think the green flag does wave after the source on the way down to Oak Ridge Radion, but the pace car is gone before then. So we'll keep our eyes on that race start. Front row, CK Motorsport and Delta Sport to get ASR 130 series underway.
Of course, running the rules of AUSPASS means that they will have to wait for the green flag before they are allowed to roll away. So we catch some drivers out when we get to the green. I think everyone's now realised, hang on, we better not go yet.
Yeah, green flag waves after La Source on the Endurance sports car layout. You see cold tyres for everyone, heading down to Oak Ridge and Radion for the first time though. Tracked up at 29 Celsius, racing into a late afternoon and evening. Right in the start zone here. There goes the green flag. Hold, a good getaway. Big check-up in the middle. And they've all got to be so careful this first time up the hill and onto the Kemmel Straight. No worries for the pole sitters. Too wide a lot of the way in between. There are some slowdown penalties that you can trip up very, very easily with the prototype. No worries at all. The first time up the hill, the GT3s are going to slipstream, and your pole sitter there in Pursuit Sim Racing not far off the back of these prototypes either. So they get a good start. And into Lacombe, things can start to close up, and we do have a bit of drama amongst the prototypes.
The Frog Leap Juice Racing having an issue, and Velocity Racing Team 21, Jordan Ferguson, is dropping down the field and dropping in behind a couple of GT3s. So he's having some issues. Oh, there's been a big moment though at the exit.
That Rivage, a couple of cars coming together there amongst the prototypes. You now see them falling back amongst the GT3s and a spinner at No Name Speakers, Jack Yick's corner. And again, more in the background there as well. Some of the GTs tangling amongst each other, rolling back onto the track, and a few of them go spinning on the first lap of a 2-hour, 10-minute race.
Not what you want to see. It's not what you want to happen. Around they go. At the front, we continue on.
Already 5 meatballs amongst the field, and it's since start at Lacombe, where a few cars got sort of forced into skipping across the gravel there, picking up some slowdown penalties, and then immediately a big bulk of cars at speed behind them causes some tension, causes some friction, and the first lap almost completed. Your top 3 amongst the prototypes here, starting to stretch a little bit. I notice it looks to be all Cadillac up front. There is no replacement for displacement, as they say.
Top 4 Cadillacs, and we've got a couple of BMWs there, and then back in the field, he's having a moment, Luke Turner having a moment. Racing there, Tony Baker, who's dropped in behind, and the Frog Leap Juice car, Brandon Roach, he's coming in. It's a bit stuck. That's not where it's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. From Lodgemont into bus stop. A couple more damaged cars, including Red Bull Ship. These are the leaders. 2 packs forming. CK Motorsport, Delta Sport, iLac here, and then Pulsar Chuka Toyota, Frog Leap Juice 17, and 952 Sport 654. And that next group behind looks like Virtual Motorsport Mentor, the number 11 GT3, has made some positions on this opening lap, because Jackson Pringle's got to the lead of the GT class. Sebastian Vondel back into second, but I feel like the GTs around this very high-speed circuit slipstream more strongly than the prototypes will. They spend a bit more time at full throttle with a bit less power, and they punch a bit of a bigger hole in the air as well.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there, and probably see them work together. Also, this is Luke Trahir. He had a huge moment in a Rivage, and then through. This is where we're seeing all the mechanical black flags come from. Join there. That's unfortunate. He's decided to retire the car, and his day is done, as is the race for a couple of others. Also seeing the 696 Velocity Racing Team car, Gretsch, he picked up a black flag for unsafe pit entry after that drive through... that was someone else. I'm not sure who got the black flag then. You go and dig deeper on that one.
Yeah, I see one on the 696, but I don't know what for. Again, sometimes if you have a slowdown penalty on the opening lap of the race, it's very, very difficult to give up in a timely fashion, and you do need to clear it and quick. A lead change back there with the GT3 field as Vondel at Huon got back to the race lead ahead of Virtual Motorsport and Jackson Pringle. Fabian in the BMW watching on, but there are a lot of Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esport cars in that top 5 amongst the GTs. They're 2nd, they're 4th, and they're 5th. A lot of orange bumpers on Mercedes as the leader runs wide on the way in. Will be vulnerable to the switchback on the way out, but Pringle lights up the rear tyres, gets them a little squirrely, and puts Van Zel off the hook.
New race leader at the front as well. We've just seen the Delta Sport 199 car, Harry Lawrence, go through and steal the lead away as well. So some changes happening everywhere at the moment.
Look at the replay here, onto the Camel Straight, highest speed, it's uphill, it's a big slipstream. Eyes from the leader are forward on a little bit of that lap traffic as well. And just dropping back into 2nd place at the moment.
Nice move.
Spot the BMW from the headlights and the size of the grille in the front on shots. John Merritt just behind John Merritt is Henry Chappell from the Juice Cars, the best BMW amongst the prototypes at the moment. Prototypes almost 20 seconds a lap quicker than the GT3 cars at this early point. Fastest lap on GTs is 218, fastest lap on prototypes is 159. So it's 19 seconds per lap of extra speed from this new generation of prototype races.
Both going to need to pit at least twice in this race. We know that GT3s usually say an hour, don't you, for a GT3 for fuel? Well, these are at 67% our GT3s. That makes them about 40 minutes. 40-minute stints. They don't quite go into 130 very well, so it could be 2 plus a splash and dash, or those that are very, very good at fuel saving may be able to save that extra little bit for Luke Turner. Smashes out the fastest lap in the race.
Putting in a clean lap, I think, is key to it as well. There's a little bit of hybrid energy deployment gains in the prototypes. Nothing like the old days of LMP1, but there is definitely a little bit of an opportunity to just sit back on one lap and then attack a little more on the next. Vondel still the leader in GT3 here.
Oh,
Things are getting squishy amongst the prototypes though. Harry Lawrence, the Delta Sport car, has gotten away as they've worked their way through a tiny bit of lap traffic here. It's held back CK Motorsport and ILEC Motorsport, and also John Merritt in the Pulsar Chuka Toyota car that we ride on board with now. First time we've really seen much of a breakaway at the race lead. So, press them somewhat here.
I think John Merritt have some good pace in lots of different cars. This is the first time I've seen a lot of these drivers, they're driving prototypes. The guys that are quick in most things seem to be able to drive these quite quick as well, which is no real surprise, is it?
There is just a little more of an element of trying to make these accessible to non-professional drivers as well, as far as compared to the cars that preceded them in WEC and in IMSA competition. So yeah, a little bit more customer motorsport should make them a little more accessible in terms of how they drive and what the speed is.
Burner past Tim Harris down the back straight. Burner currently the fastest car on track, although he is back in position number 7 now.
Just nothing in the way of qualifying for Luke Turner, so I don't know if that was a mistake or a deliberate tactical ploy. He's giving them some work to do. This is amongst the GT3s. Sean Lacey, Team Racy, and Buster.
I can tell. You're enjoying that a lot more than you should be.
Some things that are Lacey are a bit racy.
I guess I can't deny that.
One of the few BMWs. Does seem like initially there's a lot of Mercedes up front in GT3, but we know you've got all of the other stuff and hubble to go through as far as tyre longevity, as far as maybe a little bit of fuel economy and range as well. Traditionally, we'd never count out some Porsches that just appear late in the race with good economy and good tyre life and not wow us in qualifying, but just be able to maintain a standard and a race pace across a long race distance. What are the tyre changing rules on the prototype? Is it they're free?
I believe so. I believe it's the same for all of the IMSA cars this year. The GT3 rules run the same as in IMSA. The inside looks, John Merritt decides I better not. I did compromise Funzlo a tiny little bit and lost a tiny little bit of ground there. Cowan now has a little bit of a chance to have a breather.
Does he at Rivage? Gets out just a little bit wide. It's out very, very wide, and Merritt is not going to really make a pass then around the outside. A no name, and then that AstroTurf looks super slippery.
I've already seen it take a couple of people. I'll tell you what, I was close to making contact there. It's getting a little bit racy here, and Cowan's happy that they're racing hard because he's been able to pull a second within a couple of corners.
He's been able to pull just a little bit back on the outright race leader Harry Lawrence as well. So I am seeing it just seems like one quick lap might deplete the battery a little bit. We're a little slower on the next. Some drivers might hold back and then be able to push on the next. There's some variability to that by the looks of things.
For second, third, and fourth in GT is also being quite needed. So this is Timothy Theben just passing the lap down car there. That's a Velocity Racing Team car that we saw on the black flag earlier. But we also saw Jackson Pringle in the Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports 11. He was working his way through. He's pulled a bit of a gap now as well, but the front of the field is getting quite racy in this group. But Seb Van Dal's pulled a little bit of a gap. Starting to break a little bit of a margin there now.
Trying to work their way through that little bit of traffic at that point. So Merritt gets ahead on the run down the Kemmel Straight and to Lacombe.
Oh, it's Harry Lawrence. That's our former race leader.
From the lead of the race, dramas for Delta Sport and Harry Lawrence. Has he picked up much damage, or has he just made a dog's breakfast of Lacombe Melmedy? And he's lost position. CK Motorsport to the lead. John Merritt now finds himself in second. Back here, Harry Lawrence, Delta Sport in 5th place. From the, is it too much entry? Whoa, it just almost snaps on the white line there. Looks like no damage.
Just hit the curb the smallest amount, and it's enough to shoot the car off towards the fence, but he's held on. This is a bit racing.
Is it?
Yep.
Number 20 sure is. It's behind him. Brady Stanley and David Rudder. Have a little bit more of a check-up again. Very wide through the bus stop I always never see. A little bit of traffic there again. Not super slow, but once you're in this pack and blue flags are waving, you kind of got to find a way to get out of the way. That's always the worst type of traffic, is traffic that's in your own class, because you don't have any standout speed advantage on them that you know you'll be able to get past in one place or the other or down the next straight. You kind of got to force it a little more. We're absolutely side by side here, heading up Eau Rouge.
Oh no. Well, they've done it.
It doesn't slow down though. It is. There's a furled black flag. PAB Motorsports, Brady Stanley.
Lucky that you'll get away with just a slow down penalty, because that could have been a lot worse, a lot scarier of a moment, because side by side through there very, very rarely
Hasn't
hurts.
cleared it yet.
Have a look at who's arrived on the scene. This is our leader.
Yep. CK Motorsport, the leading GTP,
What
arriving amongst the GT traffic, trying to carve through. But John Merritt, he's also carved his way through the traffic in quick order.
He's right there now, ready to potentially steal this away. Wanting to steal the lead. Probably content to let CK Motorsport car just do all the hard work for him, and then he'll take the glory of the position once they're all through this traffic. Now 5-car pack though for the lead.
Yeah, I noticed Adam Funslow just sneaking up, and it's been good for Harry Lawrence to be able to just shake off a little bit of the dust, and he sneaks down the inside of Funslow as they get walked through the traffic. Harry Lawrence is back up to 3rd.
Look in the rear vision mirror there of Quellen. Funslow is right there ready to potentially steal this away. No lift through there either. Incredibly quick, these cars. Slow through.
Time you have to leave into space. Funslow got past, and now he's trying to pass back. A couple of lockups on the way into the source. The over-under works for Hamish Quellen as he cuts back to the inside, gets traction in the BMW, and forges his way towards Eau Rouge Radio. There's only a couple more GT3 cars for them to land, and it's basically the top 5 in that class that they're about to approach on the Camel Straight at speed. Almost a pass in the grass.
Incredible driving going on out there at the moment. Commitment plus, and they've all got through unscathed, and I don't think they've lost too much time considering how many cars they've had to make their way through. They've held on, the 3 of them. Sure, the front 2 have broken away a little bit, but the rest of them have all been through and relatively close. A little bit of contact there. Find a little rub to say, hey, I'm coming through, let me through because I'm losing too much time. Funslow holds on to 4th. There's Harry Lawrence, just picks up 2 at one time there.
Yeah, there's the GT3 leader, Seb Vondel, so they've gotten around him, and this might have helped him just build out 2 or 3 seconds over the rest of the cars in his class. It's a backwards Ferrari. They both skate either way. Someone's around. Is that Harry Lawrence again?
Yes.
At Lafanya. He's off the road. Again, I didn't see any contact, but the rear is stepping out on him. Something savage.
Might just need to make a little bit of a tweak, the bias and things like that. That was a Ferrari of Reese Ashmore that was facing the way. he's actually had contact with our race leader, Bobby Cowan. So this is going to be controversial.
Through Puan. Oh yeah, because you're putting yourself in a dangerous position trying to go around the outside of the car and just put yourself at the outside curb there.
Here comes Merritt. He's got the momentum this time. I feel like he's going to get through here relatively easily, or is he just going to hold on, stay behind? No, I think he's going to try and steal the lead away.
Just down the inside at the Coombe, and John Merritt, Pulsar Trooper Toyota, goes to the lead of the race. Turner still slowly picking his way forward, looking at 5th place. Just Simon Bisomo at the moment. A little bit of a wobble on traction. Runs quite wide at No Name Jackie at Speaker's Corner.
I had to triple check my notes when I was making the track map earlier that there was definitely 3 different names for that corner. A little bit of info being sent to us and hearing that potentially the LMDH is stuck on attack deployment mode, which means they're running without a battery.
Gets depleted very quickly on the exit of every corner because it's not trying to balance
it and hold it.
Any of it. There's no point halfway down the straight where it goes, yeah, that's enough battery deployment. It just keeps going until it's done, and then you harvest a tiny bit at the next braking zone, and then it immediately goes and spends that paycheck to paycheck in a way. A move there from Luke Turner to get into 5th place, just biding his time and picking off a good braking zone at the bus stop. GT3 class leader, he had 2 seconds. It's bouncing around a little bit now.
I think these two here, Pringle and Febin, they've raced a fair bit together. I wouldn't be surprised if they're almost thinking, hey, we need to work together to close this gap down. No point fighting, let's try and work alongside each other and close this gap.
A couple of other, there's the other virtual motorsport mentor cars. A couple of seconds behind that as well. So finally, I think a bit of peace for the GT3s. It won't last forever before, again, GTPs, the LMDHs come around again and do prototype things.
Leaders. Is that about half a lap apart? Give or take?
Yeah, near, I'd say the start-finish line and the centre of Brawn are kind of opposite sides of the track. You want to hear some good news, Jay?
Go for it.
I'm on bridgestone.com.au. 4th tyre free on Bridgestone Potenza Performance tyres.
Lucky that when you buy tyres, you usually want 4 and not 3.
amazing deal. Oh, it's valid. It's valid all through July 1st to the 31st.
Bring it forward when I get to the turns.
John Merritt leading class at the moment amongst the GTPs. What was our envelope math on fuel range for these cars then? Probably more in the range of 35 to 40 minutes?
Yeah, 30 to 40, that sort of range. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, what are we now, 25 odd minutes on the race? We can't be far off someone thinking about coming into pit. Surely they're not going to pit. Or someone's thinking about potentially when is the right time. Racing blue car. Front of that car was already looking a little sick, but I'm guessing it's a little more sick now.
I think you'd be right. It's the new model Porsche GT3, the 992. I've only just recently got the GT3. A couple of new cars on show in this class. Our maiden ninth.
Just Stu, part behind the series, of course, commentated almost all of the pro races with you last season, or pro-am races, I should say, last season. Two drivers into the pits actually in GT3. These guys are in, this is early for them. They're only 25 minutes in, and they reverse engineering the race here.
Well, it's clearly a premeditated strategy as two virtual motorsport mentor Mercedes pit together at the same time. So they got something. They got something in mind.
Feels very early though.
Oh well, yeah, definitely they're entirely alone in this. The whole rest of the GT3 field carrying on with no stops yet at this point.
It's funny that time up so that we can keep an eye on the actual stop time.
In iRacing, the higher you qualify, the better you qualify, the further around the pit lane towards the exit you are. So the faster you are in qualifying, you get put in the smaller garages.
Okay, 90 seconds to get through the lane for the Virtual Motorsport Mentor cars. Are in the lane now. Coming in. Luke Turner's going back to the... I'm going to go GTP as well because it's on the screen, says it. The GTP class for Turner, he is very, very quick, isn't he? He's closing down this gap quite rapidly as into the pits come more of our GT3s. Maybe we're completely wrong about our numbers because they're all coming in.
Yeah, what is it? It was 67%, right?
That was what I saw on the lead page and also in the notes. So, yep. Also just seen that Matt Andrews, who came in on that previous lap here, has got a black flag for speeding on pit exit or unsafe pit exit as well. So they're going to have to bring that car back into the pit.
Is that a drive-through?
Yes.
Ouch. Ouch, especially here for this layout in particular, where it's basically a double pit lane. We're going to take a look. Now,
Okay, speed-wise.
yeah, it's quite a complicated exit here.
Here we go.
A bit too much there. No, I'd say so.
Through goes Luke Turner into position number 4. So dropping back to 5th. But a couple of driver swaps happening. Team Foot Racing 26 have done a driver swap, as has the 920. Other cars have done driver swaps. Confusing me a little bit with this, with it being a joint solo and duo field. The timing screen's going a little haywire. Speaking of haywire, Hamish Cullen's car has gone haywire off the track.
Yeah, one of the better BMW prototypes from inside of the top 5 there. Passed by Harry Lawrence, and it all started at 4. You can't dive down the inside that late.
Even if the Ferrari did move down to create the contact, it's still way too late. Had to have made it a lot earlier, so... Smoke there too. Who's that?
Lots up from the GT, I think.
Yeah.
It's one of the BMWs. We are now, yeah, seeing what had become the leader from GT3 pit. Almost everyone has, after just 12 laps, about 25 minutes or so. Ian Jordan, Joyride Racing, going
Ben Pollock
one
out of fuel
longer
here.
than almost everyone else.
Pollock's out of fuel. There's nothing happening in this car, is there? My ears are not deceiving me.
He'll be lucky that it's downhill to his pit box, though.
Until he accidentally puts his foot on the brake and it continues on. Oblique Juice Racing Black, Hamish Clallan has put in it. He seems to get some damage fixed. So Luke Turner's drive up through the field now. He's up into a podium spot. He's up into 3rd. But also lose a bit of time with some lap traffic. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, I was looking lots of places at once. The strategy, the GT3s, but also, yeah, Luke Turner, I mean, started very, very last. Absolutely last in the GTP field. And I don't know if that was just didn't qualify well or some kind of mistake. For my next trick, I will make a BMW disappear in a puff of smoke.
One way to make sure we don't have to worry about traffic is just make them go straight ahead. After the pit stops, gap the GT3. Closing a little.
And now starting to see a couple more stops out of GTP. So we did see Hamish Clallan jump in strategically. Now here comes Harry Lawrence, who we saw pick up a whole lot of damage, but definitely had some really quick laps and then some struggles. Running a little bit longer. Yeah, Sebastian Vondel goes back to the lead at GT3.
Baker got balked big time. Have a look at this. You go through, no, just to wait all the way through here, and he's just holding off, trying to get through. Himself about 1.5 seconds through there, and then still couldn't get the move done. He wasn't on the power quick enough.
There's a big pace difference GTP to GT3.
This gap's growing.
Yeah, there's a lead that John Merritt's got out to 5 seconds or so. Only 3 seconds from there to Luke Turner, who's now third. So Harry Lawrence and Hamish Cleland got into pit. It does flatter everyone from third on back at the moment.
Luke Turner stays out and posts the fastest lap of the race that time that he did earlier. I saw something flash up on my screen and it was tricking me. Tim Harris stays out. And Lehman stays out, no surprise there. He's always pretty decent on the fuel.
So head for pit stops again. GTP. BMW on the pit lane speed limiter flashes the headlights. I don't think the Cadillac does that. Some of the GT3s also flash headlights on their limiter. In fact, BMWs love to do that. The old Z4 GT3 had sort of left, right, blinking alternating pattern on the pit lane speed limit. All tyres here as they fuel, and getting a driver change or two. I think in the
9.5's doing a driver change, and so is
yeah, 32 did as well. So Brookfield in the ILET car. Craig Schultz took over from Mazomo. Is that the case?
Yep. They're the only two changes I can see in these now. We won't have more to come, but at the moment is all. John Merritt out and away. Maintains that gap of around about 5.5 seconds.
654 has got a black flag. Can you see that?
Oh, she noticed that one. Well, I'll see if I can find out what happened there.
Now the driver from this class who'd inherited the race lead pits as well, Luke Turner, is in. And I'm guessing that's probably going to signal everyone else as well. Harris, Sam Lehman. Oh, he's really got to cut all the way across to the pit entry. Not perfectly ideal.
Still to come is Adam Jepson in the 525. Will be the last car to make a stop. Dummy Racing car 28 is also going to drive a swap with Hayden Jackson getting behind the wheel of that one.
And I also see a black flag for them, so I don't know if maybe I'm missing something here. If it's getting confused about driver swaps, or new drivers are horribly bad at sticking to the pit lane speed limit on their way out.
We're speeding up, but I don't think it was enough to
The dummy one has disappeared off of my screen, but I still see 654 with a black flag.
Okay, speeding in pit lane. So as Craig Schultz was leaving the pit lane in the 654, he was then speeding on. may remember from forever ago, where you need to make sure you disengage the pit lane speed limiter in a driver swap.
Vandel's stopping
ensure-
again, and he's got a meatball from the lead of the GT3 field. What has happened? Seb Vandel from the lead of GT3, Mach 1 Esports and Timothy Fabian take over as the leading GT car. Okay. And then he's a little offline, he's a little wide, he gets the gravel and he spins. And then he comes back and hits the Armco on the other side. Acknowledge the presence of the two prototypes trying to pass him. He stayed wide, but he stayed too wide. Made a big error.
Notice too here, this is John Merritt. He's not in the lead of the race. Luke Turner has retaken the lead away after his pit stop. 6.5 second quicker pit stop has meant that he's been able to jump John Merritt in the stop. Does that mean he has to put in a bit extra fuel later on in the race? Has he done something that we're not sure about or don't know about to get that pit stop time down?
It's not a tyres thing, is it?
Has he only taken 2 tyres? No, I don't think so, because they're all done. Fuel and tyres are all done together, I'm sure.
Yeah, the tyres should be quick. Like, worst case, 20, 25 seconds. Sure. Every chance that Turner could be looking at that one extra stop and has just short-filled a little bit this first time around. So we saw about 36 minutes from them the first time around, and my head's going to hurt if I try to see how
72
that...
will be the next one. Don't ask me to go again. How much was it? 36, 72, 108.
Ah, and 130-minute race, yeah. Some of the drivers who ran long in the initial stint. Sam Lehman did 18 laps, Gordon Ferguson did 17, Delta Sport Harry Lawrence did 16, and Frog Leap Juice Racing did 15. That's the difference in strategy fuel-wise across different cars, different teams.
Gordon Ferguson will do this race solo, and Sam Lehman has got Jeffrey Wang to jump in that car with him at some point as well. So another factor to take into consideration. Yeah, the leading 2 cars, the 34 and the 36, Luke Turner will be by himself. John Merritt also flying solo in this one. And confirm too, fuel and tyres are done together in the LMDH. Thank you to Simon Mizomo for answering my questions on the fly.
Yeah, I think we were pretty confident of that. We're just not confident about, okay, but how long do the tyres take? How close are they to being covered by the fuel drop? How short is this splash of fuel going to be before taking tyres gets you in trouble, or that's the limiting factor at the stop? Because I just don't see you're going to take tyres if that's the limiting factor at the stop. So that could again be strategy from Luke Turner. It's like, okay, instead of making a 38-second stop, a 38-second stop, and a 15-second stop, I'll have 3 30-second stops, and they'll all be tyre changes, and I'll finish this race having spent the same amount of time but on fresher tyres than anyone else.
Extra set of tyres from everyone else at the end. Whereas Merritt will regain 15 odd seconds back in the last stop, but we'll have to double sting a set of tyres at the end and run them home on worse tyres. So.
And outside of anything like that, just the clean air and the track position is working wonders for Luke Turner at the moment as he races away to almost a 4-second lead away from John Merritt in second, and CK Motorsport probably Cowan in third at the moment. A couple of the little battles. Harry Lawrence come back at Hamish Cleland, mayhaps.
Going back on the GT3 pulling in the lane. That's Paul Longworth jumping in from 12th position in GT3.
Now,
quickly drop down the time machine.
Are we at a different starting fuel than total tank capacity? Because everyone ran 12 to 13 laps in GT3 off the starting fuel. Paul Longworth was in a lap 1 wreck, would have topped off the fuel then, and he's just gone 17 laps after refueling in race.
Question? Well, someone will answer that for us very soon.
Because we were very shocked how early the GT3s pitted initially. It didn't fit the tank restriction.
Yes, and we've seen in AUSPASS previously that has been what has happened as well. So yeah, very, very good chance. That is what is going on here. We'll get an answer there very soon.
And then, of course, got to wonder, does a similar thing happen in GTP? And if it does, mayhaps throws out some of the number crunching we were just throwing out there and spitballing.
Brandon Groach did hit very early for damage, and he's just done a 19-lap stint. So that messes up our numbers a little again.
It's about on.
Maybe
to be honest.
2 laps out, is it? 1 or 2?
No, because he's just, by my numbers here, just completed as many laps as Luke Turner did in the first stint of the race. And remember, they had that little bit of formation lap as well. In fact, you think about the teams that have got their pit stall right at pit exit. Suddenly, a kilometre and a half away from where the pit entry is, from where they started the rolling start. So I think that's about right. I'm not seeing any different starting fuel to in racing, but I definitely am from GT3. Harry Lawrence has got past Hamish Cleland for 4th.
Yeah, he's definitely found his rhythm back again, hasn't he? So, interesting too, every driver receives 3 fast repairs in this race. Some drivers have already taken 2, not even an hour into the race. So, some drivers will be getting a bit worried about that number come the end of the race. Still a good majority of drivers have taken no fast repairs though, which is great to see. You often see a strategic take a fast repair just in case at your first pit stop in AUSPASS, but
Sam Lehman's just gone past Jordan Ferguson for 8th. That happened at the end of the Kemmel Straight. W making a textbook move.
Front ends look so different on both cars, but they're both.
But then you look at the air intake and the tumble home shape of the cockpit glass house, and you're like, oh, that is the same Dallara crash structure that everything else is built around. But outside of that, crash tested carbon fiber central tub, everything is quite different everywhere as far as the body work is concerned, the lights are concerned, of course the engine configuration is concerned. It's been a wreck just in front of them. Twitchy Foot Racing glued the 76 at Blanchimont. Might have gotten a bit of help, the Porsche GT3.
Seen that car in the times in this race too. Tell you what, this is kind of controversial because I can see the other car that may have got involved. I haven't seen the incident yet. Spa-Francorchamps was there. Could have been contact. Not much to say about that one.
Stop there.
Car's not working. Mechanical black flag, I can see. I feel like he's accidentally dropped it down a gear here in Bullkable.
No, he's had a stop, and that's helped it go kaboom. Slide across the curb at the top of Radion into the left-hand side wall. The Red Bull ship.
I'm glad you emphasised the P there.
P is what's known as a plosive consonant, and T is not quite so much. Is that car crabbing, or is it just the angle on the BMW?
Angle, just the angle.
Okay. It didn't look altogether all there when we were getting a lot more view of the left-hand side of it than the right-hand side of it.
Trick photography there. Unintentional trick photography.
Maybe Sam Lane has a little bit of dazzle going on so that German U-boats are unable to determine his speed and direction.
I guess there was some good speed there, but couldn't quite get the move done. The draft definitely helping him there.
Yeah, I'm going to look. What's the highest straight line speed number I can see? It's 312 kilometers an hour, shared by Luke Turner and Richard Brookfield. Those are the speed trap numbers I can see that have been put up in the GTP class.
Ferguson gap here has closed down to nothing. And now GT3 class is side by side for the lead.
Bus stop, they almost lean on each other a little bit. It's Jackson Pringle who comes out on top in the Virtual Motorsport mention number 11 Mercedes, and Tim Fabian at One Esports. Fabian inherited that race lead when Vondel had his first incident.
Pringle's already pulled a little bit of a gap too, hasn't he? He's already stretched it out to 3/4 of a second and quite comfortable, as I've just seen Sam Lehman and Jordan Ferguson going slow. They've caught up to a lap car at the absolute worst time on this track. Braking zone for the bus stop. Can't go anywhere. Oh, mistake.
Huge lockup from Sam Lehman, and he runs so wide, hurting those tyres as well. And they're going to be side by side as they go down Eau Rouge towards Radion. And there's no harvesting on the front axle, so I don't think you lose any hybrid from locking up on the way into a corner. I was trying to think if outside of just the obvious, if a lock-up actually will then hurt your speed on the next straight. I'm not sure it would, unless you lock the rears. Theoretically, locking the rears should stop you from harvesting.
Yeah, I think that is how it works, but again, I'm no expert in how the technology works either. I can confirm I haven't really driven anything with hybrid technology since the McLaren Formula 1 car. So I'm not sure. How's that for an honest answer?
I drove Mum's Prius to Aldi yesterday, so that's...
So you're
I got
way
that
up
going
on
for
me. I love how we're talking about hybrid technology and you say about your mum's Prius.
Well, it's a Bosch unit in the GTPs. I think there's some Bosch bits in that too, as far as electricals, at least as far as I think the ABS goes as well. Turner just continued to extend his lead. He came from last on the grid. He leads at the moment by 8 seconds. Now, big lick for Sam Lehman.
Not going to get that back to them.
Oh, he's not okay.
Not okay racing now.
So how's he managed this? Oh, it was the exit of Blanchemont.
Yeah.
Blanchemont. He's coming up behind the GT3.
Oh no.
He looks to the inside, and again, it's too late. If you're going to get down the inside, where he was, how far alongside he was at the turn-in, is fine, so long as you've shown early that you're going to go down the inside. You can't surprise a GT car and expect them to leave you a car width just because you've arrived with some overlap right at the turn-in point. And that's I'd repeat that about some of the previous incidents we saw at Huon and others. It's like, oh, you're kind of there. You're arriving at big speed. You've got overlap at the point of turn-in. So you've got to show beforehand that that's what you're doing. You can't just arrive 50 kilometers an hour faster and, snap your fingers and expect a lane to open.
Nearly halfway through this race, and we've seen some action, some controversy, some drama. We've seen everything. What's the second half going to have?
A couple more pit stops.
Well, yes, we're guaranteed that.
So it will be 1:05 left to go on the clock. It's the halfway point. All of the GTPs are going to get past the halfway point before they need to stop again. In the GT3s, your leader on screen at the moment in the 11, Jackson Pringle, 13 laps into the stint at the moment, might have 4 or 5 more, 10 minutes or so. I think the way that the GT3s are going at the moment, they will just get past the halfway point of the race before they need to stop again, which puts them on the right side of the strategy window there as well.
I got a question for you, Mr. Hay.
Yeah?
You know any good fun events coming up in Brisbane around second weekend of August?
Yeah, the Ekka starts then.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. You could go pet some animals.
I might have to come up and have a look. Anything else?
You tell me.
We might have to have a catch up, I think. If you're in the Brisbane area around the 12th of August, jump on the SimSpeed socials or onto Motorsport Australia socials and check out the Queensland State Esports Championships. We'll be there, won't we?
We sure will. esports.motorsport.org.au.
Oh no!
Oh, they touch first and second in GT3. In second place, Timothy Fabian spins out at Lafania. Was it a checkup or a little bit of a brake check, or just a big mistake here from Timothy Fabian? Almost running up the back of the class leader.
I think it's a bit of both there. I reckon he's gone in too hot, and I think that the lead car of Pringle, I think he's got a bit stressed about how fast he was coming, and maybe not. Yeah, it's just too hot. Big error though.
Goes back to third place. That. Now gets up into second for it to be first and second for Virtual Motorsport Mentor cars at the moment. Biggest mover.
Oh, I can do that. You ready?
Go on. Oh yeah, okay. Graphic. Yeah.
I've got a button that does that now. Right.
So good as H. Ben Pollock, 7 gains. Brady Stanley, TAB Motorsports. Jamie Blackman, Team Jamie Blackman. He's not on the graphics. It's only +4 for Team Racy Sean Mason.
Yeah. Back on our live adventure. If you are in Brisbane, don't qualify, come along and watch. Meet myself and yourself, David, and Stephen, Sam and Clark will be there as well. Yeah, a very fun weekend.
I'll be giving out crisp high fives.
Crisp ones.
Yeah. Because August, in presumably an air-conditioned space, crisp high fives. Summer in Brisbane, too much sweat on your palms for them to be crisp and have that like crisp sound feeling to a high five.
And confirm there will be an...
Are the kids still about high fives, or are they like into fist bumps these days?
Still get high five. Hasn't given me the bird yet, so I guess I'm going okay in that way.
So this is one of the early stopping Virtual Motorsport cars, and then they also ran into some problems. And I think they were the unsafe release car as well, the 91 models. So they're a little off strategy and a little down the field compared to their teammates who are running first and second still at the minute. Through first, second, and third in GTP at the moment. Luke Turner. I think what's important to note here is he had that 6-second quicker pit stop, but he's now got a lead of 8 seconds. So that covers any possible, fuel drop or strategy deficit or anything as well for Luke Turner. Absolutely net race leader at this moment, not just first man on track.
Yeah, that strategy is at this stage looking like it's going to pay off for him, but I mean there's still a long way to go. But he does the same the remaining 2 pit stops. He's looking in a very, very sweet spot, isn't he? He's looking in a very, very good position. But he's lost a little bit of ground on this lap. The lap traffic, he's just caught at the wrong place. Barrett closing the gap down.
Not by an appreciable amount from when I looked last, maybe just a tiny bit. Gordon Ferguson stops. It's been 12 laps for the Velocity Racing Team 86. Well, Velocity Racing Team 21, which is actually car number 86.
Yeah, that's confused me all night so far.
Because car number 21 is actually Team Reese Ashmore, which I think has retired.
Yes, Reese Ashmore. I've got 4 retirements so far. Trahir, Matt Bailey, Reese Ashmore, and Brock Kelly. Trahir, right after that incident at the start of the race, and our leader in GT3 has decided to come into the pits. That is Jackson Pringle in.
I guess once you pop, you can stop.
That's terrible.
Oh, absolutely atrocious indeed. That was... We saw 2 cars come in together 1 lap early the first time around. And this is one of them, so it's reached the end of its strategy window here, which was sort of 15, 16 laps. 16 laps. The other car, of course, ended up off strategy when it cut the pit exit line. And then their third car, it ran longer, and it still leads at the moment, and that is Chris Purnell here. Besmirchy's name, Team Jamie Blackman, is not retired, but he has had a problem at turn 1 just now. Oh, goodness me, okay. Prototype appearing at rapid speed behind him this time as well. 75. Right?
28.
28. Outside of one prototype. Yeah, that's not on for me again. You're not alongside at the braking point. You're only barely alongside. You're not alongside when the GT starts turning in. You're only alongside as you arrive right at the point of the and Romain Grosjean a little bit.
That prototype that made contact there was Harry Lawrence up the inside, so in comes Luke Turner to the pits. Got Merritt coming as well? No surprise.
No, and this confirmed it was a short fuel that first stop from Luke Turner, because he's in after 14 laps, and everyone else looks to carry on closer to the 17 or 18 that we know they're capable of at a minimum.
And races in the pits. Other cars coming in too. The Delta Sport's coming in. The Delta Sport car is coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if that's to get a bit of damage fixed. Potentially that front splitter could be damaged. Like there's a bit of a crinkle in that car. Front splitter.
Hard to tell because it is black, but yeah, I mean, probably there should be. Unless they're making them out of concrete.
Actually looked like it was in pretty decent shape, didn't it?
Now that he's in the lane, I can't see what Harry Lawrence's first pit stop time was, but it's been 16 laps, so I guess it's kind of time now. We know that they can go 35, 36, a little bit more minutes on fuel in GTP, and so it is just one more stop to get home from here. Now we're past the halfway point of the race as well. So it's no strategy disadvantage to stop now if you're any of the GTPs, and I think that also confirms in my mind no problems. That was again another sort of 32-second stop, so not all the way full on the tank, but it worked out well for him after that first pit stop. He got a little bit of clean air, he had a lot of pace, car was a little bit lighter, he's on new tyres again now. Harry Lawrence, 5 minutes.
something happened out with a couple of cars. Bennett racing car up a mechanical black flag, which is the car that we've seen Tony Baker driving. Then an issue at corner that formerly didn't have a name, now has 3.
Loose on the way in, backs it hard into the wall, turned in a little bit late and a little aggressively as well, and it did not provide that. No.
Second, exact same corner. This is Ian Jordan. 5. A moment at the same corner, also picked up a mechanical black flag. So we're just starting to take some victims.
Slides just a little bit, and it's still sliding as he touches the asphalt. He doesn't open up the hands, and it snaps. Left-hand side.
He's picked up a mechanical black flag, but he's decided to keep going. Now, interesting thing with that is he's going to be down on pace a little bit, but it opens up big strategy gains for him. He's got this mechanical black flag at the right point of the race, hasn't he? There is
a lot of other cars. Yeah, a lot of other cars fitting from GT3 at the moment as well, including Fabian, who was leading. Cars in, Blackman in.
Merritt now in.
I noticed that CK and Ilex stay out though.
Interesting there. Ilek ran an extra lap in that first stint though, so they're still going. They might come into this lap.
Not compared to
Oh, you're right, because they haven't crossed the start finish line.
John
so
Merritt
that's
or
why.
DK Motorsport. They didn't know.
No, they're the same. Yep. Pitted the same lap as Merritt. Just my numbers are tricking me because they now crossed the start line. Sorry, the finish line. Picked them over to the same lap number, so that's what caught me out there. Brendan Groach has also come in the Frog Leap car. Into the final hour.
Tim Harris, one of the drivers who went to 18 laps in the first stint, extending at that point. He hasn't actually reached 17 laps on this stint yet, so he extends longer still. GT3 still a little bit of a mess, but it sorts itself out as Ian Jordan hits in the Joyride Racing car. Goes through to the race lead in that class, having stopped early both times, both occasions, back after his second stop. Everyone else just taking their second now in his cab. More cars making what will be the penultimate stop from both categories. Still one more to happen after this. Jordan ran long. That meatball went 1 lap longer after that just to try to hit his particular strategy number. There's CK Motorsport, the pole sitters, making a driver change for the first time in this race as well. Callum gets in and is replaced by Andrew Franklin.
New fastest lap for Luke Turner.
Track has been cooling off as we go as well. It's a local time of 6:50 p.m. It started at about 43 Celsius or something. It's down to 25 now. He's got those new tyres. Should feel the car just a little bit light, and obviously must have been able to avoid too much traffic on that one as well. Blistering lap 159.2.
We saw Seb Van Dal just behind now leader of Jackson Pringle before. Where the race has gone from bad to worse. They've received a black flag at pit exit. So it couldn't go much worse for the 14 after leading for a decent portion of the start of the race. They've just got to drive to the penalty. Oh no, they've hit the wall on pit entrance now too.
Oh no. Oh!
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh. You know what I'm thinking, Jay?
Oh, bring out the Austin Powers, mate.
Yeah. Oh, it is blocking the pit lane. Eventually, just gets clear in time. That might be dummy racing there. How has he managed to do this? Presumably with too much ambition. Blocks the rears on the way in. You're kidding me. You are okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He stalled it then too.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Almost there. 11, 12. Okay. Stopped one of the drivers that went longest in GTP. Teal Blue Racing, Patrick also follows him in. There's probably a driver change owed for that 13 as well, because I don't think we've seen Greg Panton yet. Presume we will. Yeah, we definitely haven't seen him yet, and therefore we're going to have to. Now's probably the time as well.
Saying that there is no requirement that if you enter with 2 drivers, you have to. So it's entirely up to the teams if they decide at the last minute, hey, I'm just going to stay in the car, or vice versa. Change at every stop. We can change not at all. We can put someone in and do 1 lap and 1 lap down. Teams do have the freedom for that in this race.
For example, CK Motorsports, the outright pole sitters, who entered a pit lane, and it's more than a minute before you can find your pit box.
Driver swaps have just happened, and as you were alluded to, Greg Panton has jumped into that car, the typical Blue Racing. Also seen a driver swap in the Pursuit Sim Racing car with Seth down in the middle of that car. CK Motorsport also has done a driver swap too, Andrew Franklin.
2 stops from everyone now in GTP. Brady Buchanan took the dummy racing car from Hayden Jackson.
Yes, so Brady Buchanan's back in the car for the 2nd time. Remember, he did do the first stint. Simon Mizomo has also got back behind the wheel of the 9.5 since squad. Also did confirm a couple of things with him too during his stint on the sideline. That the lockout blocking up the tyres doesn't affect the charging of the battery at all. So whether you lock fronts, whether you lock rears, or whether you lock both, it will still generate battery. For some
I'm
reason.
going to start a long-running and unhelpful Twitter campaign to get this rectified.
You're right in that it's unhelpful, but I mean, it did fix it eventually, though, I guess, so maybe unhelpful isn't the right. Long running, 100% correct.
I mean, when I know there are better channels and I still go down that route. That's what Justice can be a slow process, Jane, but it always wins in the end.
For the podium in GTP, only about a second and a half separating Franklin and Lawrence. So Harry Lawrence has been in the 199 since the start, and he will drive that car all the way to the end, but then a driver swap in the CK Motorsport car and in Franklin now behind the wheel. Not sure whether the pace is going to be as evenly matched between the two drivers, so this could be a chance for Lawrence to get on through.
Yeah, obviously, his teammate put the car on pole position. Not insignificant iRacing discrepancy between Callum and Franklin. I always hesitate though, in any league racing format, to assume there is much of a correlation between a user's iRating and how competent they are in the particular vehicle and style of racing happening in the league, though.
It's a very good point.
Especially if the league deviates significantly from what popular official series look like.
Very, very valid point. And we've seen it many times that drivers with very low I rating can be very, very good at certain cars in a league setting.
And I've also seen many a driver
opposite.
with 8,000 to 9,000 I rating who've achieved almost all of it in 20-minute fixed series struggle to think and strategize their way out of a wet cardboard box. Or lack the strategy knowledge or the patience or the temperament needed to succeed in a different format. Or to just be consistent, I guess, in a different format.
Patience definitely is the big one there too, isn't it? I mean, we see that a lot. Patience in getting overtakes done in certain race types. It would be very, very difficult for some drivers who automatically assume they should be at the front of every field that they're in too, so it does make things very interesting.
Harry Lawrence will think about a look at LaSource to get up into first place, and I don't think Andrew Franklin was in a mood to defend that one that time, so Harry Lawrence does
Fairly easy move in the end, but put himself in the right place to get that move done. Another battle going on in this class is this one here between Jordan Ferguson, Velocity Racing Team, and Team Timothy Harris 2.
I said the second.
Oh, the second. Not 2.
And Braden Martin chimed in to reiterate the sentiment and say, "Go Team Timothy Harris the second." Lol.
Should I edit it to say lol at the end? Do that for next round.
No, I don't think so. I think just the second will suffice. Now, John Merritt's a little closer to Luke Turner than I think I would have expected, given there was only a 2-second difference in their pit stop this time. time around. On that number, I would have said Merritt should be about 6 seconds off Luke Turner at the moment. He's more like 4. He was kind of 3.5. Zomo should come back forward through the field. Feel sick saying that? He's up in the 10th now. Simon Rizzomo in the 6th, 5, 4. That car's been 3 times through the lane. Most have only been 2, so that's where he finds himself. They did, yeah, they got the penalty speeding, didn't they?
Yeah, they got that pit exit for speeding, so make that extra pit stop. We have lost our first car in GTP as well. So ambitious there from Luke Turner, but got it done. We've lost 1 car in GTP. Brandon Grosh has retired that car. Lost another car in GT3, but we've still got 32 of our 38 starters out on track, which is great.
Once they get into it, once they get going, they've got 7 kilometres to spread out. Makes them all very free-range sports cars.
Like chickens?
Well, I was thinking like chickens. They're the old 1,500 hens per hectare, I think it is.
No idea what you're talking about now.
It's free-range eggs, man.
Oh, right. That gap's down to 2.5 seconds as well, by the way, between Turner and Merritt.
It's come and gone a little bit in the last 2 laps or so, and I don't know if it's just traffic for Turner, if he started managing the lead a little bit. There's no idea of much traffic here at the moment. So, yeah, 2-minute 1.6, a little uncharacteristic for Luke Turner. He's in the stint where he set the fastest lap of the race, which is a 1:59.2. So to be, 2.5 seconds off a lap time he did just a couple of laps ago is pretty big. Now you notice he's got quite a bit of traffic as he gets towards the twistier bit of the circuit too. Kemmel Straight, very easy to power past a couple of cars, and that's what John Merritt does. Turner just starting to catch a couple of those GT cars at Rivage, Pouon, Lafania, those parts where we've seen some contact happen between the different classes.
Yeah, the gap closed with Turner stuck in between GT cars. Merritt's going to find it a lot easier, I feel. Maybe not.
I think Turner kind of went the wrong way trying to make one of the moves at No Name there as well.
Usually when you're the second car coming through in a battle, you find it a little bit easier to pass lap traffic too. Often the lead car in a group of cars, or sorry, the leader will come up on a group of cars and they don't realise that they're there. Come up on them very quickly, and then by the time the second car's there, a little bit more aware, hey, there's some some faster cars coming on through, we better let them go. You saw there that John Merritt, he did get held up a little bit, but overall gained probably 3/4 of a second in those couple of overtakes.
I think he also just picked it better as well, though. I think rather than being patient off the exit of Rivage to get to the inside of Jackie X, Luke Turner tried to be shallow off the exit of Rivage, put him to the outside of Jackie X where he couldn't get around the GT3. So in not giving up 0.2, he kind of lost a second through the next corner, and that's kind of the give and take of trying to play with the GT3 traffic. I think is the net result fastest way through the traffic will see you give up, a couple tenths on corner entry, a couple tenths on corner exit somewhere, so that you can position yourself for the next corner with some momentum with the run.
We're not completely ignoring what's going on in GT3. There's just seems to be a little bit more battling going on in GTP at the moment, but we'll go back to GT3 very soon. Gordon Ferguson and Tim Harris. Harris has closed down very quickly.
Yeah, Last lap for both of them in the 2-minute 2s. One of the shortest stops I've ever seen last lap from Jordan Ferguson as well, and I have to go back and check, but I think it's the closest GTP stop I've seen where I'd say, yeah, maybe that was fuel only. Definitely, I think we're still expecting the final stop for quite a few of these cars to be fuel only. If it's only 15 seconds of fuel, that you're not going to get all 4 tyres covered by that.
Rerun as well, so.
The guy in the red shorts looks a little glum. Like, that's premium hospitality tent of the pits, man.
I think he's had a few too many. Just look at the angle that he's on. He's a bit had a few too many.
He looks like he's about ready to go, you know, nod off a little bit, leaning against something in the shade.
He looks like he's had 1 or 3 too many. Brown now in the shoots and racing car here in Gladwin having a bit of a battle. Not long got past has Seth Brown. Other S Brown in the field, just had a big moment though.
Code Brown, if you will.
Will be a bit of a code Brown. Like this, so obviously talking about Stu Brown. Received a little bit of contact here behind.
Yeah, they just don't know their own speed, some of these prototypes, I think. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll be to the inside of this guy by that corner. Good. Stay drivers left. They'll see you're off to that side in their mirrors and know that you're either about to be a little bit aggressive or that you'll be close enough. Rather than, you know, you're in line behind them, they turn out on the brakes, they start to turn in, and at that moment you go, actually, I think I'll try to claim that spot that you're already turning into. It's not going to work. It's not even, oh, there was never going to be space to the inside there. It's like, there would be space to the inside if you communicated and made it look like you were going to take that space to the inside.
Yeah, it's not that there wasn't space, it was that at the time the GT3 realised you were there, it's too late. If you had to let them know that you were there a bit earlier or showed intent that you were going to make that overtake, they would have got out of your way and given you space. Just some things that will be worked on, no doubt. Communication between drivers and the like will also be worked on between rounds. Of course, 2 weeks in between rounds. Now that's
It's the Peugeot 968 edition of the Ferrari 488.
I was about to say there should be a rear wing on that.
More spec, low drag. No, I did catch a little bit of this for Jamie Blackman. Off the road, obviously. Found a barrier, obviously.
This is interesting. So, car that you're seeing come in there, the 10. It's for Longworth.
It's like I need to see more of the Longworth, because obviously the driver on the outside goes, okay, corner here, I'm going to start turning in, and the car on the inside didn't look like it was turning much at all. Oh, that's going to be a slowdown. Okay, having a look here. Again, we're side by side. Oh.
That makes things a little bit more obvious as to what actually has happened.
I'm still seeing a little bit of both, but I know which brake lights came on first.
So it would look like there may have been a little bit of slide when his right-hand tyres on that curve. Franklin's still holding up Funslow here. Funslow hasn't been able to get through in the 5th position.
Yeah, and Tilbury Racing is just behind them, but down a lap. And that was the car that had a big evasive maneuver, I think, at the top of Radion, and probably picked up a slowdown. This is okay racing.
These guys are out of sequence after that big incident for Sam Lehman earlier.
The 18 laps to go, maybe they'll end up a lap down to the outright leader, and it'll only be 17 for them at the moment. But I'm just looking at that clock as they pit and going, are they getting home from here? And the answer is probably yes. But potentially just if it's 18 more for them.
They've just done 18 on one stint, so they should be okay. Has anyone used all of them 3 fast repairs? Yes. Red Bull ship has used all 3 of their fast repairs, so they have any remaining.
That ship has sailed?
A ship has sailed for sure. Out of our 32 cars still running.
So they'll be in trouble if ship hits the fan.
We've got 14 cars that haven't used the car yet. Which I reckon's a pretty successful number at this stage.
Let's make up an award for them. Spirit of endurance, something like that.
I mean, the team that we've used the most will get the round star, I guess.
Franklin still ahead of Funslow. Last lap was not competitive for either of them, 2:04. But they do have 20 seconds to the car in 6th place. What it means, I need to think about Harry Lawrence Delta Sport in front. Has he had an off lap? Because I think they've actually caught him on this
They
lap.
have. He's down 10 seconds.
Was he off at Rivage? Was he the car that was off at Rivage and left some cropped circles in the gravel? And we had seen that car, particularly Harry Lawrence, struggle with the rear traction on turn-in some places, looping it around. Yeah, I think that is what I'm about to see. I think heading down into the hairpin right-hander here. Turns in on the curb. Don't do that in the Cadillac, I think, is the moral of the story. Because one corner beforehand, we saw something similar at Malmedy for him, where he just had the outside tyres on the curb, turned in, and likewise looked like there was ice.
Lawrence and Jepson in to make their final pit stops. Just ensure Lacey. Lacey. It's Racy. Sounds good. That.
4th in class still. Oh no, OK Racing are back on the lane again as well. And they have a black flag. Alright, don't turn in from on any of the curbs is the lesson.
It's not a bad save though, being completely honest.
True. Luke Turner pits, the driver that we imagine is in the net race lead position, pulled big advantage on Pulse Echuca Toyota and John Merritt's car in the 2nd stint of the race. We just had the 3rd stint for them, where he didn't seem to have quite the same advantage. Let's see what the strategy brings for Luke Turner. It's always a question of, can I get around this hairpin in the pit lane at 60 k's an hour, or does it need a little bit of a lift? Does it need that little bit of respect? And the answer is pretty much every car you can take it flat out as long as you turn in from the right point. But in the 24-hour races, you never want to be the teammate who hits the concrete wall under pit lane speed limit. This is Jeffrey Wang leaving the pits.
Wasn't
after
speeding.
his stop. Yeah.
Wiggle.
To challenge that pit exit because it is a little bit blind, and also you are typically on cold tyres. Merritt isn't. He's going for an overcut versus Luke Turner in the battle for the win in class.
A black flag come up for the car of Stu Brown, just then turned into a mechanical black flag.
Oh, already a little bit of damage on the rear, but that looked so slippery coming up the hill over his Radion. It didn't turn left very well. He was wide of Radion. And then...
Sorry, Stu, for showing that.
Is this a bit of an early stop out of John Merritt?
I think he's just going
Or
for the
did he
time to go. He knows how many laps to
Well,
go.
I think they did short fuel a little bit.
Yeah, they
It wasn't 38, that was kind of 31, 32 last
Only
stop,
30.
so probably.
31, yeah, 31 last time. It's going to be interesting to see where he rejoins the race. So Luke Turner around about 35-ish seconds stopped. Bunzlo should take the race lead away unless he decides to come early.
Alfonso is past Andrew Franklin. Did we see that?
No, we were watching replays of all different sorts of things that have been going on in the last. Last 15-20 minutes of this race have been a little bizarre.
Car is on the jacks for John Merritt. I don't think that's a surprise. If he'd gone a complete tank of fuel at the last stop and then run 18 laps and was pitting with sort of 9 to go, that might be a surprise to me. This is that move. So Franklin's a bit wide there, and behaviour we'd seen from him previously, particularly when Harry Lawrence got past, was okay. You're down the inside, there you go. Had a lane off the final stop. Tyresman on for John Merritt, 33 seconds, but he is ahead of Luke Turner, which I think is a bit of a surprise to me. Luke Turner stopped 35 seconds, John Merritt stopped 33.8. Is it something in the tyre warm-up, in the overcut, that John Merritt is finding this time in and around the pit stops?
Potentially.
Suddenly there's a lap car between them as well that shoots off the road. I'm pretty sure that's the Panson teal blue car. Yeah. Not what you want to see when you're Luke Turner, but I think we're shoes on the other foot scenario here. Outlap for John Merritt. Tyres will be a tiny bit colder than Luke Turner, who is clearly closing him in big time on this outlap. And the leader from GT3 stops, and therefore his teammate in virtual motorsport mentor Chris Purnell goes through to the leader GT3 as Jackson Pringle stops. Luke Turner's all over John Merritt for what will be the lead of this race, though. Oh, huge snap. Trying to come out of the campus Stavolo complex of corners. No traction where John Merritt wants it. Lurking, Luke Turner. And in black, it absolutely does look like Jackson Storm from Cars 3.
There's a little bit of blue highlights, and it'll be absolutely. That's deep for Turner. Almost didn't pull it up there, but somehow managed to generate enough braking performance to not make contact. This is on for the race lead. This is on for the race win. We've still got 14 odd laps to go, 13 laps to go.
Yeah, they're fueled to get to the end. They're in the final stint. They're in the run home, and there's nothing in it. A couple of other drivers, but Adam Funslow comes in, and Franklin's still carried on a little longer. It's Dummy Racing Brady Buchanan that's the laps car just in front of our leaders. It gives a bit of a slipstream though to John Merritt. I think so long as he gets out of the way in time for John Merritt, it's not hurting him holding on to the race lead at the moment. And that there's another Cadillac out in front.
Sport car from Harry Lawrence is coming out of the pits, as has Jordan Ferguson. So they've done their stops. Backing away again. Adam Funslow's got out of the car and Richard Brookfield's got back into that car. It's just Andrew Franklin now is the main one left to pit in this race for GTP. Still lots of cars left to pit in GT3. Run through them very soon.
The traffic had all been very kind to John Merritt so far on this lap. Just caught the GT3 on the way into Lafanya that cost him half a second and brings Luke Turner right back underneath his rear wing. The position boards on the cars say third and fourth at the moment, but when they cross the line, that'll change to second and third. And when Andrew Franklin and CK Motorsport pits, it'll change to first and second. This is where Luke Turner's looked like he's been very good on the brakes on the way into the bus stop. Doesn't look or consider the inside on the way in this time.
Headlight flash from Merritt though to let that GT3 ahead know that he's on his way. That's Seth Brown deciding, hey, I better get out of the way. No point fighting this one.
That's what I'm talking about. He's thinking, I suspect I'll get to the inside of this car before the source, so I will stay on this side of the road. They will know that that's what I'm aiming for. And if they look and think, no, he's too far back, they can turn in and take the corner if I'm not close enough. But if I am there, there's no surprises.
Bit of driving. Sean Lacey's come in from Team Racy, make his final stop. So Timothy Febben leading the class GT, but he's yet to make his final stop, as is the Twitchy Foot car, position number 4 of David Nuttall.
Shadows are getting a little bit longer. Track's still cooling off down to 23 degrees Celsius, and I think that's important for the GT3 cars because all the stops I'm seeing right now, quite short, potentially fuel only. Probably the biggest ask on the tyre life now in those cars is this final stint. And they're not quite as durable as they were in years gone by either on the GT3s.
No, they're not triple stint, not hard tyres anymore. They're do a stint, maybe a little bit more, and you're putting them in the bin. So it's definitely a very different tyre these days than what it was when GT first was released on iRacing. Andrew Franklin continues for another lap, so he will lead one more on his 16th lap in his stint. Merritt Turner, traffic again, bringing them back together. Oh, spin in the background.
Yep, Dummy Racing. Loop it on exit, try to pull out of the way and use the generous runoff provided to not have to do a 12-point turn, but to just chuck a Yui.
Ed Van Dal wishes there was a bit more runoff when he had to make a 27-point turn.
I think it's funnier when you don't exaggerate and just say 12.
I almost wasn't exaggerating at 27. It was halfway there nearly.
Now, suddenly a little bit more traffic. John Merritt cut through one. Tough and Malmedy. Oh! This movie feels like he has to try to stick.
Now this spin that we saw for Brady Buchanan in the background has ended in absolute disaster for him. I'll explain why here. So he lights up the rears, just loops it around.
He doesn't drive backwards too far.
Lights backwards here.
Okay.
Loops it back around. Goes backwards. So he's now cutting that final corner in a bizarre way. He's picked up a black flag for cutting the course. One of those weird things that can happen at this track. You don't cut the course, but you do cut the course, and it thinks that you've cheated a little. Fortunate for him. Into the lane is Andrew Franklin.
And he hasn't crossed the line in pit entry just yet, as he gets passed by John Merritt and Luke Turner, who go through to be scored first and second in this race. 11 more laps to go. And they're still stuck together.
Smooth pit entry for him. Watch this.
Bad angle. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, it's... You can't get in hot to the first part of the bus stop and come all the way across from the left-hand side of the circuit to the pit entry. The angle just doesn't work. You cut across some of that blue paint, and if you do that, you're on the wrong angle to then make the tight turn.
Part of that too is that the camber in the road that's there does sort of propel the car at a weird angle as well, doesn't it? Or am I making that up?
No, I think you're right. It's the elevation on a tight corner that kind of translates into off-camber. You get it at some other places like the final corner of Knock Hill, or there's some other examples where it's really steep at a tight corner, and so you actually just stay a little bit wide off. Sometimes you do similar at Forest Elbow. Some cars don't like to get right up against the concrete at the apex there.
For the lead in GT3's closed up very, very quickly after the pit stop phase. Chris Purnell with a much shorter pit stop than his teammate Jackson Pringle. But he also was fuel saving quite heavily throughout that previous stage too, so he's put himself in a reasonable position here to maybe steal something away from his teammate.
In both categories, trying to see who still owes us a pit stop, and it's some zone where he comes in. It's Tim Harris in third. That's almost it from GTP. A couple of cars going down. Teal Blue, Dummy, etc. This is for the race lead, though, absolutely side by side. Luke Turner's around the outside. John Merritt's not going to give him the inside at Lacombe, and is therefore just going to hold on to the race lead. Gets that wide and onto some marbles, but holds the race lead.
Time for the race lead in GT3 as well, so both battles on screen for the race wins with only 18 minutes left on the clock. This is so good.
Flash your headlights at your teammate. That's what Chris Purnell's doing. Pringle. And he will have a look at the bus stop. Try to trick Pringle into braking too late. No such thing will happen though. Seem to close up pretty well in the slipstream, these GTP cars. Luke Turner, Blanchimont really closing up, and into the bus stop. John Merritt's been around this block a couple of times. Get in between the GT3 leaders as well at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Off the source for John Merritt. Luke Turner half a second behind. again, all of that can disappear as they go just about flat out up through Eau Rouge Radion and onto the Camel Straight. And the lapping car held the GT3 race leader a little bit wide, cost him some time. Defensive car positioning from John Merritt. He's back across onto the racing line and thinks that not close enough to threaten him.
Burnell, bottom of the screen in second. He's been there to potentially steal a position, but just hasn't quite gone through it and made that last little movement to get the spot done. So I don't know if it's just, hey, I'm letting you lead as my teammate, whether he's playing friendly because he's his teammate, wants to make sure he's 100% there, or if it's something else as to why he hasn't more than trying to make that move. I'll tell you what, that's crazy and fast there for Merritt to turn around the outside and go on to get that done.
A lot of trust in the GT car if you go and do that. Top of your screen, GTP race lead battle. Bottom of your screen, GT3 race lead battle. OK Racing go around in the background of that bottom shot. And we now know how careful we're going to be turning around and rejoining at the bus stop.
Close to the beach
On here. Luke Turner almost got alongside, but it was by running wide in the runoff of Blanchimont, and he couldn't. John Merritt wasn't going to let him rejoin the racetrack from out there. Like, don't let someone rejoin from below the yellow line of the apron in oval race or something like that. With that, John Merritt keeps his race lead. Teammates playing stream games down the Camel Straight though, as Jackson Pringle holds the middle of the road, trying to force Chris Cornell to go around the outside at Lacombe. Two Mercedes teammates side by side. It's not Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg.
You're jokingly saying about how the OK Racing car needed to be careful with how it rejoined. Received a black flag. That was an incident, but I'll tell you what, these guys at the lead of GT3 are going to be EP cars. They're battling for position there too, coming through. That was a Delta Sport and Frog Boat Juice Racing car for the 7th and 8th class coming through.
Yeah, Harry Lawrence and Hamish McClellan. Blue Racing making their final stop. Dummy Race
Car in the field, stop too.
I think are in because of that black flag. Someone 525, the only one from that team in GTP as well.
We'll see all four of our lead cars in a group together very, very soon. Hopefully at the end we'll keep it straight.
Merritt laps one of the Ferraris off the circuit on the exit of Blanchimont, as always. And less so when it's past two different class. Passing position like that. It's all one shot now, Jay. The outright leaders pass the GT3 leading battle, where again Jackson Pringle's trying to use the inside to hold his position. Chris Purnell swaps him, goes around him for the race lead.
Wow.
Now Timothy Fabian, the BMW, arrives on the scene, and he was more than a second a lap quicker last lap, and he's with the race lead as well. We've been watching the teammates play games. Timothy Fabian has a rocket ship BMW in these cold conditions.
Sure does.
Often the cool conditions will favour a turbocharged car as well. As the air cooled, turbos get more power.
Exactly right. And also can see that Pringle has lost a lot of ground too since he's lost that spot there to Purnell. So he's really struggling now for pace and might have some trouble from behind. And we go back to the lead overall because Turner is right there with John Merritt. They're tucked in behind one of our other BMWs. I believe that was Hilton Booth. But Merritt gets a little bit of an advantage on exit.
You're going to need to write up John Merritt an invoice because right now he's on a streak of winning 2 consecutive races that I've commentated here on SimSpeed. He's on that hat-trick ball looking for 3 from 3. Can't get enough of chatting with David Haynes post-race.
And ask him that after the race, whether that's the only reason he's got pace is to be able to come and chat to him.
I wonder what the motivation for Timothy Fabian's pace is, though, because again, he is in touching distance of the race lead. This is first, second, and third in GT3. 10 minutes to go. They've made all of their final rounds of pit stops here. And Fabian, 2:17.8. Fully 2 seconds faster than Jackson Pringle on that lap. Basically a second quicker than Chris Purnell as well. If he can get past Pringle and get to Purnell, he's got the speed. Around that cone. Not any of our leaders. So I fancy that Fabian has the speed, but he does need to get past the first car quickly. He's not going to get past both on the last lap. Or at least you shouldn't plan on that. You should be a little bit more proactive in moving forward to challenge the race lead.
This is an incident between Matt Andrews in the 921 car. It's about 35 and
now that more resembles Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team in terms of car down the inside is 90. No, here at Spa, the car down the inside is 90% of the way clear. Tries to take the apex of the left hand. The other car's trying to stick it out around the outside. Just tags them. Bit of a lockup from Merritt. Again, easily done with that off camber, that little bit of elevation, sharp elevation step at the apex of the bus stop. For his outright leaders, and based on where the GT3s are, I think they're not going to go another lap down, so 5 more for them as well, which I think is important for Timothy Fabian. I think 4 laps would be a big ask, but where he is right now, 5 laps to go, he can do this. He's closer than he's ever been to the race lead, closer than he's ever been to putting the blowtorch on Jackson Pringle there in second as well. Merritt knows where his headlight flasher is, but he's still going to get held up a little bit as he has to dive to the inside of Melmedy. At this point in the race, I think more of the GT3 cars they start encountering are out of their fight and willing to roll over a little easier than in the early part of the race when you're trying to maintain your position in the pack, trying to maintain your draft, trying to not get compromised yourself.
Can't ask for a much better finish to this first round, can we? Hope that we have one close finish, but to have both classes within a second, 5 cars for 2 classes within a second in each class is absolutely brilliant. Even if both classes fall away from here, we've still had a brilliant race the whole way through. The battle for third is also on in LMDH.
Hypercar.
Yep, all of the above. Brookfield and Franklin, so they're going at it as well. Lots still going on in our field as Franklin back through on Richard Brookfield. Poor mistake for Turner.
Yeah, he runs wide there as well, not unlike what John Merritt did before, and runs wide at the first bit, puts him offline in the second part, doesn't get the power on early, and John Merritt has a 1 second race lead, for I think the first time since the last round of pit stops. Further back than previous times. But I still think it's possible from there if he's got the fuel. He stopped after the cars in front of him and took about the same stop time. So that, I think, is a good sign.
Six and a quarter minutes left to go. Purnell is going to have to work hard to hold on to this lead.
Racing Tony Baker tries to cut through the traffic here as well. Artistic, but I don't know what was meant to be happening in that shot. Pringle at the end of the Camel Straight, always, of course, closing in the slipstream on the longest straight of the racetrack, the highest speed part. Faven just behind as well, your top three. No movement at the station in terms of positions in the last 5 minutes. You'd think something's got to happen.
It feels like something's brewing, doesn't it? Within this group, at least.
I don't know anyone who's going to race for 2 hours, 5 minutes, sit here in third position looking at second and first and not entertain the idea of having a bit of a go.
I agree. I agree 100%. It's in his mind, but has he got the pace to get up there that last little bit? Is dirty air affecting him that much? Is the fact that they haven't had any GTP cars come through for a little while, is that hurting him as well?
Good teamwork make the dream work a little bit here for virtual motorsport and Tour esports. Backwards from the rear wing of the leader, covering off his own teammate, really lets Timothy Faben get into the fight, looks to get underneath him on the final corner. And if he doesn't get any overlap there, he definitely looked like he got a better exit than Jackson Pringle. Square on the exit of the source as well, but you've got to have the straight line speed at this part of the track if you're going to challenge to try to pass at the end of the straight. How much did he take at the top of the hill? No furled black flags here, no track limits abuses there, all good. Jackson Pringle, traffic for them trying to stay out of the way, and Faben desperately trying to use that as an opportunity to open up the inside line to have a go. It doesn't work, he crosses back tight on the exit, tight on the next exit. Pringle is parking it, and I think it's really helping Chris Purnell. Look at all the car lengths he's built as Jackson Pringle fights aggressively to defend second place.
Seen it before.
Oh, what a moment, Faben.
He's held onto it very, very well. We said that before, though, didn't we? We saw that there was a bit of a gap spread between Purnell and Pringle, and it closed down very, very quickly. So, will we see that again?
John Merritt on the exit of Radion has a car at the top of the hill. It slows him down. Luke Turner's got a big run at him onto the Camel Straight with 2 more laps to go for the GTP leaders. Turner is in front around the outside and back into the race lead. John Merritt had managed it perfectly to this point, but you just can't account for the pace of the traffic, where they're going to sit as you approach them at Eau Rouge Radion. It was just wrong for him on the exit. He just had to lift, and Timothy Faben's around now.
A huge slide and then got cleaned up by another car right at the end of the moment there. So he is potentially race done. One for third for second and first for him, but he's going to have to hold on for third. He's got a big job to do to be able to hold on now.
Luke Turner's back to the race lead here. John Merritt. It was only the traffic. Okay, turns in on him a bit. Pretty sure that was the GTP car that kind of thought he had more speed than he did. Jackson Pringle has a problem as well. He drops back to third. Fabian's back into second as they start their final lap. Chris Purnell has an 11-second lead. Luke Turner off the road. Oh, and now John Merritt spins. On the live pictures, John Merritt spun. It's all happening at the bus stop.
Wow.
So taking the white flag, Luke Turner took the lead last lap, takes the white flag with a 5-second lead from last on the GTP grid. He's in hot trying to pass. He locks the rears, which for some reason doesn't disengage the hybrid harvesting against all known laws of physics. That's this week's high horse.
Can't wait to see what Twitter has to say about it.
Now the pressure is on for second and third, and another massive slide for Timothy Fabian. Those tyres might be cooked on the BMW at this point. He fought so hard to close down the leaders, but they will be overheated from the previous slides as well. There might be a little bit of damage on the car, and we know the last stop from these GT3s was fuel only, and those tyres are reaching the end of their best. The checkered flag is going to wait for our first ASR 130 GTP and GT3 winners. 525 is in trouble.
And Jeffrey finding himself up against the wall. Good news for him is he only has 3/4 of a lap to finish the race, so even if he's got a fair bit of damage, it's not too much that he has to do. Good turn up. Finish this lap off with relative ease. Finish a successful race for him. And now gets the white flag. Start his final lap.
Yeah, still about 30 seconds ahead of where Luke Turner is on track to stay on that lap. It's one more sequence of corners for Luke Turner to take the first win in ASR 130 series. How has John Merritt got back so close? But Luke Turner takes the race win in GTP, just ahead of John Merritt. Again, Motorsport look relatively comfortable in third at the moment.
3.5 seconds and stretching that gap out over the last little bit. Andrew Franklin alongside. Brain will stop working. Bobby Cowan looking okay at this stage.
And so everyone bar the the GT3 leader has taken the checkered flag at this point, based on where Luke Turner was. Second, third, and fourth have already been shown the checkered flag, and locked in Jackson Pringle, Timothy Fabian, and Team Racing's Sean Lacey in fourth. So nothing can take away the win outside of towing. No,
Black
towing
flag.
would still count the lap. Towing would still count the lap, and he'd still be the race winner.
Yeah.
I don't know how your overlay graphics would quite try to compute that one.
I don't want to think about that. It would confuse me.
No, it's the all, if an infinite number of guests arrive at a hotel with an infinite number of hotel rooms, and one more person arrives, can they be accommodated in the hotel?
What's more
Dividing by
important?
zero.
What's more important? They have enough place.
Well, they need an infinitely large laundry as well. And of course, the complimentary breakfast would also have to be infinite. Chris Purnell, with second and third having already taken the checkered flag behind him, he'll complete one more lap than anyone else. And the Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports 920 will be the first ASR 130 GT3 winner. Only a handful of cars left to take the checkered flag here as well, mostly GT3s that ended up in an awkward spot compared to the leader. Here's a GT3 that I think is completing one more lap than they anticipated.
Are they on the starter? Are you being Nick Wood?
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Yeah, he is. In fourth gear, no engine revs, but he's bumping the starter to try to get this to the end. I think it'll work.
10 seconds.
I think it'll work to get him to the bus stop, but I don't think it'd work to get him up that hill. And again, he's just going to get scored regardless as the last car on his lap. And we look to the results. After 130 minutes of multi-class sports car racing in the ASR 130 series from Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, the winner in GTP, Luke Turner, went back and forth with John Merritt in that final stint. Luke Turner comes away with the win from John Merritt and Andrew Franklin and his teammate in CK Motorsports, completing that podium. Richard Brookfield, Tim Harris from Team Timothy Harris II in fifth. Velocity Racing Team 21, Delta Sport, Frog Leap Juice Racing Black, 95 Sim Sport, and Teal Blue Racing, the top 10. 4 other cars finished. They were Bandit Racing, Virtual Motorsport, Mentor, Esports 525, OK Racing, and Dummy Racing. The Brandon Grosh Frog Leap Juice Racing Blue ended up retiring. Over in GT3, that was also super exciting all the way to the end. Chris Purnell came away with the lead and the win against his teammates. Jackson Pringle, Timothy Fabian completing that podium. Sean Lacey in fourth, and then Twitchy Foot Racing, Virtual Motorsport, Mentor Esports 919, Matt Andrews. Put it in H, Team Jamie Blackman, TAB Motorsports, and Jorai Racing as the top 10 in the more populous GT3 class. Is that Nick Wood actually finding the checkered flag at the end there?
Yeah, he got there.
Oh, good on him. Power to the player. And then Twitchy Foot Racing Blue, 981 Motorsport, Team Paul Longworth, Team Kraken, Red Bull Ship, Twitchy Foot Racing Green, Downshift Black Dog, Pursuit Sim Racing. And I think you start to look at retirements here. Velocity Racing Team, Fiercely Forward, Team Reese Ashmore, Fiercely, and Team Luke Traher. Well, it looks like we are going to get our GTP race winner. So Luke Turner joins us, and we offer our congratulations, the first ASR 130 series race winner. And I'd say 2 laps to go. It didn't look like a certain thing at all.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was actually really enjoyable that last stint. John and I sit on the same Discord, and we were actually supposed to team up, but when the numbers were a bit low, we decided to solo it. So different fuel strategies, because I made a mess of qualifying, and so that last stint was just really, really enjoyable. We were all having a laugh, trying to make our way through traffic without binning anyone, to do it nice and clean, but also trying to get an edge on each other. So there was a few moments there where I was like closing my eyes. I was like, I hope we come out the other side. That was good.
Indeed. So how did you read the changing track conditions? It looked like tyre changes at every stop, and you were kind of getting overcut, it looked, on the strategy by John. What should we expect from this category of cars in the remaining 2 rounds as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, well, like I remember for most of my iRacing experience, like you doubling the tyres works out fast. Well, most recently in that second stint, it works out faster on the tyres. But I tried that during the week, and it didn't. Like, I didn't see any advantage. And because you can change the tyres at the same time as the fuel, I just made sure I evened out my fuel stops so that I wouldn't have a disadvantage at any point in any pit stop. Like at that last pit stop, that I would always have the tyres dropped on the floor before the fuel finished filling up. So there was a definite, for me, definitely changed the tyres, because the rear started to get pretty ugly under brakes and under acceleration, sort of towards even the end of the stint. And then if you go into that second stint, it just turns into just managing tyres, and you kind of can't really get into it.
Well, an absolutely exciting race after 2 hours, 10 minutes. Our congratulations to you as race winner and putting on an awesome show, and depriving John Merritt of his hat trick of speaking to me post-race 3 races in a row.
It could have been either one of us. I just got lucky at Eau Rouge with how the traffic fell. So, look, it was an enjoyable race. I got lucky. It's good fun.
See you in 2 weeks for the next one, hopefully.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So our GTP race winner joined us. Jay, you up for grabbing Purnell, our GT3 race winner?
Yeah, congratulations, Chris. Probably in your mindset, may not have thought you might have been able to get the win there with Jackson leading for quite a lot of that final stage, but it all sort of fell in your lap, and you managed to get it home in the end.
Yeah, no, pretty happy with that one. It was pretty funny in the chat because obviously we're teammates, and we're definitely stirring each other in that last stint coming into the pit lane. So it was awesome to get the job done. It was good hard fighting, but it was fair, so I'm pretty happy.
We're wondering whether you might have been a little bit too friendly with him in the dying stages there, where you were looking to make moves and you weren't throwing it up the inside, but you may have been a little bit more aggressive if it wasn't your teammate. Is that the case? You're a little bit more friendly with him, considering it was a teammate?
Yeah, definitely. It was probably more calculated than I would be with other guys, because you don't want to wreck your teammate, definitely, and I don't want to have that meeting with somebody afterwards either. So I was definitely probably a little bit safer about it, but I knew that he was saying in the second stint he was struggling a little bit on tyres towards the end, so I knew if I could just sort of hang around him and put a bit of pressure on him, he might crack towards the end.
Fantastic result for the team. They won 2 in the end, and another in 6th, and obviously had another couple of cars out there as well. So overall, a really good result for the team in your return to the broadcast here on SimSpeed.
Yeah, it's awesome to have the team come out. I mean, we've been a team for about a month now, but the initial livery reveal came tonight for this one, and obviously I haven't raced for nearly 2 years in front of you guys, so it's pretty cool to come back and have a bit of fun and have a really solid result to start the championship.
Congratulations, mate. Enjoy it. I'm sure you guys will celebrate on social media as well, and no doubt see you in a couple of weeks at Road America.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll speak to you soon.
Brilliant to hear from the race winners from both categories, and it went down to the final laps after 2 hours 10 minutes of racing in both, and hopefully we can get the same in 2 weeks time when ASR 130 series goes to Road America again. Another big classic sports car track. I think it very well ought to deliver more of the same. Find the ASR 130 series Discord if you want, and we'll be broadcasting here on SimSpeed TV in 2 weeks time. Of course, thanks to the ASR 130 series sponsors Bridgestone Select and Index Designs. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Road America.